Alright guys, so today's topic is apologising. I think this is something that can make a huge difference to the quality of our relationships. Because I believe that apologising is a skill and an ability that we certainly haven't been trained on, and many of us can be pretty poor at apologising. And the thing about apologising is you're going to need to do it at some point. Because one of the inevitabilities of relationships is we're going to have conflict. And this isn't something to be scared of or try to avoid. Conflict is natural in relationships, it's going to happen, but what we need to ask ourselves is, can we effectively resolve this conflict? Because if we can, then the relationship can continue to grow and flourish. If we can't, then that is going to create some discord, some divide, and can ultimately be the end of a relationship. Now, today I'm going to walk you through a framework that you can use to make an effective apology. We'll be talking about how specifically you make an apology. But first of all, I just want to generate a mindset shift in you guys when you come to apologize. Oh, there. Do you like that rhyme? Poet and I don't even know it. So, when you are going to apologize, I want you to let go of your ego. Let go of your pride. Because one of the things that stops us from apologizing is the fact that sometimes we have to admit that we have some fault, we have some wrong in the scenario. And if you come at the relationship from this place of ego, this place of pride, you'll never be able to truly meet in the middle with someone. Because the thing about a relationship, it's not about you. It's about us. And you need to come into that conflict resolution scenario with a framework of, how do we make this better for us? Not how do we make this better for me? So when you come into the apology scenario, release that ego, release that pride. And see this from a positive slant as well. See this as a way to grow in the relationship. Because in life in general, and certainly in relationships, when we have conflict, when we have struggle, this is actually what brings the best out of us as humans. It's what allows us to generate new strengths, new perspectives, new skills. It's your opportunity to grow. So see the apology scenario as a chance to grow. So with that in mind, I'll introduce to you my framework that you can use to prepare yourself going into an apology scenario, and also how you can get that apology to be as effective as possible. So the framework is a 5-step framework, and it's called the LUCAR framework. That's L-U-C-A-R, LUCAR. So the L stands for listen. So when you sit opposite the person that you want to make the apology to, first of all you listen. You let them recount their version of the events. You don't add comment, criticism, feedback. Sit there and listen and get all of the facts from their side of things. And this leads on to the U, which is understanding. After you've gained all these facts, then relay what you heard back to the person. Let them know how you understood the situation to be. This is important because you want to know if both of you are reading off the same script, if you both see the situation from the same side of things. Because the closer you can get that perspective, the more effective you'll be able to engineer a solution. So the U is understanding. From your understanding, relate to that person how you saw things. Then we move on to C. And then this is where we focus on feelings. So the U for understanding is facts, what were the circumstances of the scenario, what was the experience, but the C is emotions. Here you convey to the other person how they felt or how you perceived them to feel. So you might say, you know what, I can see how what I did really aggravated you, or I can see why that made you feel unappreciated. You know what? I understand why that would appear to you as if I don't care or I was being mean. Focus on the person's feelings. This is where you have a display of empathy. You've got to have empathy for how that other person feels right now. This is crucial. Empathy is one of the key traits that you need in relationships. And if you can't show it in this scenario, you're really going to struggle to make that effective apology. So then from C, we move on to A. And then this is acknowledge. And this is probably the second hardest part of the apology process for most people. Acknowledge means that after you've conveyed to the person how they feel, you then acknowledge that their feelings were justified. Now remember I talked at the beginning of the video about swallowing some ego, swallowing some pride? This is going to take a huge gulp and intake of ego and pride. You acknowledge that the other person's feelings are justified. Now remember, this isn't from your perspective. You may feel that they're overreacting or they've seen the situation wrong. That doesn't matter. What matters is how the other person feels. And from their perspective, their feelings are justified. The way they saw things created the way that they reacted, and that reaction, that physiological and psychological reaction, was real for them. Their feelings were real, so acknowledge them and justify that you can see why their feelings occurred. And acknowledge that, yes, I can see from your perspective, you would be angry, you would be sad, you would be frustrated. So that's A for acknowledge. And then we get on to the fifth and final step, the R. The R is remorse, and this is apology time. And this is where so many people screw up the process. So many people try to go through remorse, try to make an apology without actually making an apology. They will do everything they can to skirt or weave round their part in the scenario. You've got to face up to it. You swallow the ego, you swallow the pride, and you take some courage, and you take some integrity, and you make an apology. You show your remorse. Now there's 3 steps to an apology. 3 steps that so many people miss out. Step number 1, say the words, I am sorry. Because so many people try to make an apology without saying the word sorry. Sorry is a word, it has meaning, it has power, it has magic. Use it. Step 1, say the words, I am sorry. Step 2, say, I am sorry for every single thing that you did wrong. Say, I am sorry for every wrong behavior that you committed. Say, I am sorry for every negative feeling you gave the other person. Say, I am sorry for whatever rule or tradition that you maybe broke in that relationship or scenario. For everything that you transgressed in, apologize for it, using the word sorry. And then step 3, don't try to justify your actions. This is probably cardinal sin number 1 after not saying I am sorry. People will say, I'm sorry, but I was really stressed. I'm sorry, but I wasn't thinking clearly. No, 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 no. If you try to justify what you did, you take the power out of the apology. You make it seem as if it wasn't a really bad thing that you did, or you're taking weight and power off what you did and how you made the other person feel. You are not defending yourself in a court of law. You're not here to justify and explain yourself. You're here to make an apology. The purpose of an apology is to make the other person feel better and to allow them to forgive you. An apology is not to make yourself feel better and relieve yourself of guilt and transgression. So step number 3 is say, I am sorry, and that's it. No justification, no explanation. Now, after you've made an effective apology, then there might become some reconcession time, some further discussion into what went wrong. And here you can maybe start to talk about what the mitigating factors were and how this could be avoided in the future. and what both parties could have done better. But not at this initial apology stage. The apology stage can open up the door to further negotiations in the conflict, but not at this stage. First stage, it's not about you, it's about them. So remember this process. Go into the apology, swallow your ego, swallow your pride. Work your way through the Luca process. Remember how those 5 steps of the process, it's really all about the other person. All those things that you're doing are for the benefit of the other person. And when it comes to the end, that R for remorse, make an effective apology using those 3 criteria. And if you do so, then you know what? If you do this with genuine empathy, integrity, humility, if you go through this entire process, you can sit back and say, I have done what I can to effectively apologize. And sometimes that other person may not forgive you. But if you've done everything in your power to make a genuine concession and apology to that person, then you can hold your head up high. And you can say, I acted in integrity this time, because you know what? We all make mistakes as humans. We're imperfect. We sometimes hurt people, and sometimes we hurt the people that we care about the most. And this is an unfortunate reality of the way that we live in the human condition. But if you are able to make an effective apology, if you have this framework in your back pocket, it's something that you can use to address conflict. And what I particularly stress, just as a finalizing point, is don't leave the conflict to fester and niggle. Try to address the conflict as soon as possible. As soon as you recognize that there is a transgression to address, get into the apology stage. Make that apology quickly. Make it while the fires of the conflict are still embers. Because what happens in so many relationships is these things go on, they're left unaddressed, no effective apology and reconciliation and negotiation is done, and eventually that conflict grows into something that cannot be reconciled. And so relationships end and crash and burn. And this causes so much pain for the people in the relationship and the people closely connected to that relationship. And this is something that breaks my heart when I see this. When I see relationships break down over something that could have been easily avoided with effective communication and those effective qualities of empathy, humility, integrity, swallowing the pride, swallowing the ego, working together, not for I, but for us. So guys, I hope that helps. I hope if you've got an apology that you need to make right now, this gives you a little bit more courage and a little bit more confidence to go into that apology scenario and make an effective apology. Resolve that conflict. And as I said earlier in the video, go on to grow and strengthen the relationship from that conflict. I'll speak to you guys in the next video. But until then, go out there and live your life of love and service. I'll be speaking to you soon. David. Hey guys, it's David again. Just a quick couple things to cover before you have to shoot off. First of all, if you liked this video and if you've been enjoying the content on the channel thus far, then could I ask you to please click that big red subscribe button below. That way you're sure never to miss any content and you can keep up with all the training and knowledge that I'm sharing on the channel. Second of all, if you feel that this video was impactful for you, and if you feel that there's a person or a group in your life who could really benefit from the message in this video, could I ask you please to share it with them? Share it with anyone who you could feel could benefit from this training. You see, I'm doing everything I can to get my message out there to all the people who need to hear it, but there's only so much I can do by myself. So I'm asking you guys, as my fans and supporters, to help me spread this message and help impact as many people's lives as possible. And then third of all, if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about my story and the 3 most powerful life lessons I've learned, then you can find this in my latest book, The Last 60 Minutes. This is a book that will help you find meaning and vibrancy in your life. Go to the video description below and there'll be a link where you can look at the book and find out more information about it. And if you find yourself reading it, I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for in there. So guys, until next time, remember to go out there and live a life of love and service. I look forward to speaking to you soon. David.